Why do you want to use a drip system? You don't want to spray or sprinkle your plants because you're going to spread diseases from leaf to leaf. You're also going to do a little leaf damage, and you're going to develop an environment or an atmosphere for funguses and diseases to take root. If you flood irrigate, you're going to force air again out of the soil, and that's going to suffocate the roots to some extent. It's going to drive the air out of the soil, which the roots need for the oxygen, the atmosphere. It's very important to a healthy plant to have air circulating. You need to plan out how you're going to lay out your bed before you go buy your supplies, maybe draw a little diagram. That takes a little bit of planning, but the putting together of the system itself is very simple. All these materials will be in the watering supply section of your hardware store. Very inexpensive. The first thing you'll connect to your either hose or water faucet is a pressure gauge. You want to control the pressure that goes through the system. We need a connector to go from the pressure gauge to the half-inch line. So we'll just connect that. From this, we've got the water supply, we've got the pressure gauge, and we've got the connector from the threaded fitting to the plain half-inch plastic tubing. That just slips in, and that's a good solid connection. You'll never get a drip out of here. And cap this end off. That's done by a little piece that fits right over the hose. Push it in as far as it'll go, and that's a good secure connection. From there, you're going to run your 1/4-inch tubes off the half-inch line. I usually like them about every 6 inches. You punch holes in the half-inch line with a tool, something like this. Be sure you get these holes in a line, because when you lay your line down, you're going to want the tubes coming out in one direction. Your next step is these little connectors. So those fit right into the half-inch tube. Push those into each hole. Now you take your 1/4-inch tubes, you've measured how long they are and you've cut them. You'll have arrows on your tubing. That's the direction the water flows. So you'll want that arrow pointing toward the end of your line instead of where you connect. So the arrows are flowing this way. So we're going to just slip that over the little plastic connector. We need to stop the water in the end by these plastic stoppers. Take one of those, slip it right in the end. That'll block the water. You can lay it in the sun for a few hours and it'll straighten out to a large degree. But if you want to hold it in one place, now you can make these yourself. You can get 4 or 5 out of a clothes hanger. Push this right into the ground. The most important thing I think you want is to not go over 10 feet at the maximum with this drip line. The half-inch tube like this will supply enough water that you could water 250 square feet, roughly a 10 by 25 foot plot, off one half-inch tube. It shouldn't take more than an hour to set up a complete system and be running on a 100 or 200 square foot bed. It's much easier to use 3 or 4 tubes, 1/4-inch tubes off your half-inch line. Slip that T connection over that end, over that end. You just put a cap on that. You're going to run your 1/4-inch tubes 8 or 9 feet this way, and another one 8 or 9 feet that way. Now there's another little implement here that's very handy. Maybe you have a big area and you've got a lot of lines, a lot of separate sections that you want to water separately. Well, they make this little valve. Just snap it off. That's very easy to do. Twist your valve on, rock on to that end. Now I can turn the water on, and I can water just this bed by turning off the line to the tree and the line to the carrot portion, or I can close that off and just open my tree bed, and that's all I'm watering now, or I can close that off and only water my carrots. So now the water is off in these two, but it's on in the carrots. I can water them all at once if I want. But you can get as creative and have as much fun as any kid with an erector set.